The following podcast, iDesign Lab, is an SW Group production in association with 5 Star and TW Interiors. This is iDesign Lab, a podcast where creativity and curiosity meet style and design. Curator of interiors, furnishings, and lifestyles. Hosted by Tiffany Woolley, an interior designer and a style enthusiast, along with her serial entrepreneur husband, Scott. iDesign Lab is your ultimate design podcast, where we explore the rich and vibrant world of design and its constant evolution in style and trends. iDesign Lab provides industry insight, discussing the latest trends, styles, and everything in between to better help you style your life through advice from trendsetters, designers, influencers, innovators, fabricators, and manufacturers, as well as personal stories that inspire, motivate, and excite. And join us on this elevated, informative, and lively journey into the world of all things design.
So for today's iDesign Lab tidbit, it's kind of more not necessarily a design tidbit that we're answering or diving into, but more diving into how design is a huge role in our life in many aspects of our existence. And it just reiterated why we call the podcast iDesign.
The iDesign Lab.
The iDesign Lab.
Why we actually started this podcast.
Right. So initially, obviously, I'm an interior designer. So iDesign Lab came from, the philosophy that, a design studio is kind of a laboratory for an interior designer. It's where we have all of our items, all of our samples, all of the things that it takes to pull together and curate a perfect project. So it's our laboratory. And, initially we started this podcast with it just being design focused and design centered, and being a podcast lover that I am, and loving everybody's story and how they curate their own life and lifestyle. We found between Scott's entrepreneurial background and the many businesses that he has been involved in through the years that we could really take this podcast and grow it to many facets of our design life besides home interiors.
Well, when you think about it, we actually every morning when we're getting up and getting dressed, we're designing how we're looking.
Designing how we dress.
So you're starting your day off.
Designing our breakfast, what do we have in the refrigerator? What do we have in the
how we're
pantry?
putting our food on the plate.
All of it.
It's almost to a degree. Most people are designing because they like to have this here, the vegetables over here. And so it's designing.
Every facet of our existence is a design detail and a design element and has a curated evolution.
Just your schedule, how you're going to take your day and
our
what you're
diet,
doing, how your calendar.
Our philosophy, our attitude, everything is a conscious decision. And wherever there's a conscious decision, you're designing. And so, as I just mentioned, I'm a podcast, I say junkie. I love it. And as we began a new year, I said I'm going to do Catechism in a Year podcast, which is just a 15-minute tidbit every day. Everybody who does know me or gets to know me knows that my faith is extremely important to me. And I thought, I'm spending so much time listening and curating and creating podcasts. Let me do one that is meaningful. I design, my schedule. Let me design my morning to include this podcast.
Well, most people think about design like interior design, or designing a car, how the car is designed, or
what package,
how something is made in the packaging and so forth, or the design of a logo, graphic design.
Oh my goodness,
but what people don't think about is all the other aspects of life and everything around them, design was put into it. How a podcast little studio looks
came together
was a design.
So as I started this podcast journey for this Catechism in a Year, shout out to Father Mike, I heard them bring up I'm not going to explain it the way it was explained to me. I'm only going to be able to regurgitate it in the way I internalized it. But wherever there is something, a thing, an idea, there was a designer. So
Correct.
Literally everything in our life. So there is a planet and the designer of the planet is our Heavenly Father. Like literally it's almost like an action and a reaction. So when you really think of where design can take you, when you think of that awe-inspiring aspect of how vast this planet, this galaxy, this world we live in, and everything has a designer. I was like, aha moment, 2025, wow, we are on the right track.
So what's going on in the news right now with our new President Trump? Hooray, President Trump. But everything he's doing is redesigning how this country is going to run.
Operate.
And how it's going to operate.
Correct.
So the guests that that we have scheduled over the next weeks and months come from all different walks of life. And most people really, when you think about what they do or what they did, you don't think of them as a designer.
No.
But when you look at what they've done and what they're doing, they've designed pretty
Every
much
detail.
everything in what they've
Every
done
detail.
in their life.
And I would have to say,
And there's great stories in every one of
all
those.
of these stories are special, and there's so many tidbits to take from all of them, and they all are worth listening to because there's so much value in how people arrive at destinations throughout their life. The little, places that we all journey through. It all has a design element.
Right. So the conversation about design is not just educational. The journey that people have taken, it's
by design.
Correct.
That's our tidbit for today.
iDesign Labs podcast is an SW Group production in association with the 5-Star and TW Interiors. To learn more about iDesign Lab or TW Interiors, please visit twinteriors.com.